Welcome back.
Welcome to the Crosspoints podcast.
We are here with Orah.
And David.
We're so excited to be with you. We wanted to remind you that we are doing a segment this season.
With
unpopular opinions.
Popular opinions.
Yes.
Is that right?
Well,
no, it's just unpopular opinions.
Unpopular opinion. This is like a BBC radio show.
Yes, that's
they
right.
do this segment called Unpopular Opinion. It has the best jingle when they do it. You guys should totally look it up and watch it.
Okay, fantastic.
So fun. And we want to hear some of your unpopular opinions.
Yes, send them in.
Yes, email us at don't
Podcast.
do it there.
Let me just say this again, folks. Podcast at crosspointskc.com.
That is
she
our
gets
email.
it wrong, I think, every time. I think there was one time you got it. But podcast at crosspointskc.com.
Sailed.
Okay.
Yes, email us. We want to hear them.
Okay.
And do you have any off the top of your head?
I
do you
was
have
just
any
going to say, do you have any unpopular?
Let's give them an idea.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this counts.
We'll count it.
Well, I hate horror movies.
Oh, no, that's a good one.
Is that a unpopular,
No, that's a
popular
good one.
opinion?
They're the worst.
I hate horror movies.
Yeah.
Why is there so many horror movies in October?
Yeah.
Why?
Halloween.
I know,
It
but I mean,
takes over the whole lot.
it takes over all of the movies.
It's worse.
The genre is
advertising.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yes, you can't get away from it.
I don't want that.
I
don't
often
like it.
say I wish there was a filter on Netflix. I would pay 99 cents more per month.
Netflix, if you're listening, really, this is a moneymaker.
Hey, I don't want any horror things advertised to me.
Yeah.
Don't put it up there. I'm not interested. Opt out.
That algorithm is not helpful for you.
Yes, I don't want it.
Don't even show it to me.
I don't want it. So
are
Netflix,
there filters you can put on Netflix?
There's not, but there should be.
There should
be. There should be.
That'd be worth it.
I know.
Okay.
That's a good unpopular opinion. I was trying to think of one.
Okay, I gave one. Yeah, you got to give me one.
I'm trying to think of something.
Come on.
Okay. My unpopular opinion.
You have very strong opinions
I'm
about
so opinionated.
Give me a book one because you're a bookstagram girl.
Yes.
Yes. What is the Come on.
Okay.
Yes.
Unpopular opinion. Nobody should ever write another book with an accidental pregnancy.
Oh. Are there a whole lot out there?
It's a whole section of romance books. I'm not into it.
It's a romance.
It's a romance trope.
With the deal. Okay,
yep,
got it.
I hate them.
Okay.
I'm not into them. What can I say?
Well, for my next book, I'll make sure that I don't include that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you,
welcome.
David.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
I'm thinking of you.
I know.
Okay,
I
that's
have a good one.
Okay.
Okay.
This is a better one.
This is a big one for
Okay,
me.
here we go.
It's kind of a conspiracy theory that I have, but it's an
okay.
unpopular opinion.
Okay.
Helen Keller quotes are a sham.
Really?
Yep, I think it's
she
fake.
did not say anything quote-worthy.
Nope.
Who made it up?
Her interpreter.
What? You don't even know this. Now, if you're
think they're
making
true.
up something about something that you think is made up,
There's
I'm going to
bumper
push back.
Listen.
I'm pushing back. How do you know?
No.
How do you know this?
There's bumper stickers with Helen Keller quotes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But let's remember
Okay.
that we watched a whole movie growing up where it took
Okay.
her forever to say water.
Okay.
But
yes.
then we're supposed to say she does full, complete,
Yes.
amazing sentences.
As she gets older in life, she learns how to speak. She even reads books.
Yes, but
Are you telling me she can't have a quote because?
no. I think her interpreter made them all up.
Wow. I think you're wrong.
I think you're a sham. That's my unpopular opinion.
Would somebody please write in and tell us that her quotes are real and
How
legitimate?
could you prove that? How could you prove that? It's unprovable.
What do you mean it's unprovable? What do you mean it's unprovable?
She used an interpreter. Didn't she have that teacher?
You don't think that what was written by her?
No, she didn't. She couldn't write. How was she writing?
Wow. Wasn't there a Braille typewriter?
I don't know. Was there?
I don't. You don't even know, and you're telling me
There wasn't. There was not.
I'm throwing a flag. If this is football, I'm throwing a flag. Orah.
Red card.
in soccer. Here we go. I think you don't even know.
It's an unpopular opinion for a reason.
Yeah, you're wrong.
But I stand by it.
You're wrong.
I stand by it.
I'm gonna research this. Somebody help me out there. Get ChatGPT on the line. Somebody. Let's do this.
That should only make you feel more comfortable sharing your unpopular opinion.
Come on.
I've done the work first. You are welcome. I've blazed the trail.
Were you not impressed by Helen Keller? Is this what you're telling me?
I think it's all
you think
across.
you think it's a sham? She's a sham?
No, she's real.
You're telling me she's a sham.
She's real. She's
you
a
don't
real
think
person.
she's real?
I think it's great that she learned how to speak.
I'm so impressed with her.
Yay for her, Helen. Way to go, Helen. Do we need to really go?
I'm sensing sarcasm. I don't think you're really impressed with her.
I just think they wanted to make her story better, so they gave her these really great quotes that she was saying.
Oh my gosh. You are diminishing Helen Keller in front of millions of people that are watching our podcast. That is crazy.
I know. Somebody has to believe me.
The next thing you're going to say is that you don't really care about what's happening with like our astronauts in space or something like that. You think
did we go to the moon?
I was just going to ask that. Do you think that's a sham?
No, I do think we went to the moon, but I think Helen Keller quotes are a sham.
Whatever. Oh, by the way, did you see what happened with SpaceX?
SpaceX, they did their whole...
Oh my gosh, that was so cool.
I saw the catch. Did you guys see this? There's like this spaceship that's like landing.
The heavy rocket launcher.
Yes.
The main module.
Listen to this nerd right now. He knew the
come
terms.
on. It goes up into space.
Yes.
It has a booster rocket that has to come back down, and typically it's splashed in the ocean, and they lose all these millions and millions of dollars, right?
Yes.
Keep going.
But SpaceX,
yes, come on.
They had an idea to, like, instead of have it go in the ocean, bring it back down and catch it.
What?
That's the wild part.
Are you kidding me?
Like catch it.
Like they call them chopsticks. Did you hear that?
No,
They're
I
called
didn't.
chopsticks. And I watched this thing. Did you watch it?
I watched it.
Okay, no. But did you watch the SpaceX people watching the chopsticks catch the module?
I did not.
Okay. It is we need to link it. It is a fully different experience. I got goosebumps.
You're
like
so
legit.
about this right now.
I thought this was so cool. There were 1,000 people on SpaceX that were watching this live.
Wow, okay.
And they are screaming and cheering, and they see it come down, and they've got all the instrument readouts and all this kind of stuff. And when it catches it, they go wild.
Years of their life. I mean, imagine the programming
They have given
for this.
so much, and I was thinking to myself, man, if only the church could capture like this, like, powerful like moment where like they've all come together and they've accomplished a goal.
That is really exciting.
And
That's
it's just
gonna
a
be
rocket goal. I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, we're the church. We change the world.
Yes.
We should be like cheering and like, seeing God do all these great things. Anyways, I thought it was really cool. Awesome. Congrats to SpaceX.
Way to go,
Man,
SpaceX.
We're
When
going to
we
Mars
finish our
next.
30
I
for
think we're
30
going to moon and then we're going to Mars.
True, allegedly.
Okay. Sorry.
When we finish our 3 for 30,
it's 3 for 30.
we can celebrate like that.
Ooh, that's a great idea, right? I don't know if people will be cheering that much, but
Well,
we should create some
Let's
kind
all
of
agree
cheering.
to cheer.
Anyways, I thought it was pretty cool. I like Elon is a pretty crazy.
He's a wild guy.
No, I don't mean crazy, but I mean like crazy intelligent individual.
He likes to tell us that for sure.
Are you saying you don't think he's intelligent? This is what I'm hearing you say.
He seems to be very hyped off of his intelligence.
Are you telling me that you don't think he's smart? I mean,
I'm not saying that.
Okay. Do you think he's smarter than the average individual?
Hard to say.
I cannot.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. My tea almost splashed.
Sorry. Okay. I had to. That is insane to me. Like that you even think that.
Listen, I am naturally.
Shocks me.
I'm distrusting of somebody who's so conceited.
I don't care about the conceit. I'm not saying he's not conceited. I'm not saying he doesn't have emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I am saying the guy's smart. I mean, he's done.
I didn't say he wasn't, but I'm saying, is he the smartest man in every room he walks into?
I didn't say that.
I don't think he is.
I didn't say that. You just said that he wasn't even smarter than the average individual.
What? No.
I mean, what?
He is college educated, surely, hopefully. Yay, Elon.
You know what? I wonder if he is. I don't know
He's
if he
not.
is.
Okay, well,
No,
listen,
can
go
we
get
fact
a degree,
check that?
Elon.
Here's she's got her phone. We've got to fact check that.
Okay. I think that he hires really smart people.
Dude,
Yay for him. But I also think he takes credit for the smart people's actual performance.
Wow. I think you're gaslighting him.
What?
That's what I cannot be. I cannot believe this.
Between Helen Keller and this, like, who's still listening?
He's got a 4-year degree. Oh, in physics and economics.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
That's great.
Okay.
He's intelligent.
Let me tell you something.
Is he the smartest man in the world? I don't think so.
I don't know if he's the smartest man in the world. I don't know about that. But I do know, I don't know. I believe he's highly intelligent.
Yes. Okay.
Now, this is what we want to talk about today.
Yeah.
Which
Is Elon Musk.
Just kidding. Is Elon Musk. No. Let's talk about not just smarts having like a high IQ, but what about emotional intelligence?
Yeah.
I want to talk about emotional intelligence today because I think it's huge when it comes to Christianity.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
And I did a little bit of research. I have all the notes here on my phone, but the idea of emotional intelligence, that word wasn't even coined until 1990.
Wow,
So
really recent.
It's relatively new.
Almost when I was born.
19, you're 89?
88.
88.
Close.
Okay, oh yeah. Oh, that's right. It's when I graduated. I always forget that. Yeah, 1980. Yeah, she can be my daughter here. Okay, anyway, so 1990 is when it came out. Peter
Which disciple was that?
Salovey. That's terrible. I should have figured out how to pronounce their names. And then John Mayer.
Wait a second. The singer, the artist?
Not
John Mayer. Wow,
hold it.
way to go,
John D. Mayer.
Okay.
Let's be clear. Okay, they coined the term emotional intelligence, and this is the quote about what emotional intelligence is. It is a form of social intelligence that involves the ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings and emotions, to discriminate among them, and to use this information to guide one's thinking and action.
Ooh,
okay,
yeah.
I said a lot there, and I want to say it again. We're going to break it up.
Yeah,
okay, so it's a form of social intelligence that involves the ability to monitor one's own feelings.
Okay.
So you're able to understand and track your own feelings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Angry, happy, sad, whatever it might be.
You
right?
can identify
Jealousy,
your own
all
feelings.
that. You've got that.
Yeah.
And you can pick up on the feelings of others.
Yes,
like
this is huge.
how they're feeling and what they're saying. In other words, you can read the room.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And then to discriminate among them, in other words, to be able to parse out, oh my gosh, Orah is feeling upset and angry right now. I'm reading kind of her emotions, and this is how I'm feeling about how she's feeling, and putting all these pieces together. And then to use this information to guide one's own thinking and action in terms of what I say and how I act, so that I don't end up in fights always or conflict always, but I'm able to navigate through the feelings. I think this is a powerful conversation that every Christian should have. Not only in terms of how we communicate and act with each other, like in the church or in ministry or whatever, but also as salt and light in the world.
Yeah.
Like we are called to read the room. Jesus was a genius when it came to emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
He was able to read the room. Now, was that because he was God in flesh? Was it because he developed these skills? I mean, again, I don't know. This is something that was invented in 1990. But the idea, right, of being able to understand where people are coming from and to say the right word at the right time is a powerful ability in terms of social communication. It's a superpower.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question, Orah,
Yes.
for you, which I haven't even told you that I was going to ask you this
great.
question. Come on.
Come on.
So do you think that you have a high level of emotional intelligence? If you were to rate yourself from 0, okay, being and I'm gonna give you a moment to think about this. Okay. Throwing back to Elon Musk.
Yes.
Because this is where we started. Which he's super intelligent.
Right.
I think he has close to a 0 or a 1 on the emotional intelligence scale. I mean, he fires people and he doesn't care and he wants them to work in the office and sleep in the office. And I mean, he's just said all kinds of crazy things. Now, to be clear, I mean, he may have autism. He maybe have some autistic behavior. So again, I'm not slamming that, but I'm just saying that I think most people would realize that he has a very low emotional intelligence level. Yeah. Right? Okay. And then all the way up to who would I say would have really? I'm going to say this.
Don't say Jesus.
No,
I can't
I'm not going to say. I'm saying local people, even not even historical figures. I'm going to say Barack Obama has very high
I agree.
Emotional intelligence. The way in which he guided conversations and people, was able to bring people, even if you didn't agree with his politics and policies, which I didn't agree with all of his politics and policies, but I did believe that the way in which he communicated and talked with people. He's a really good orator. He's very good at that. He knows how to read a room. So we'll put those two on the spectrum.
Yes.
Where are you? Are you an Obama? Or are you a Musk? Where are you, Orah? The world wants to know.
I'm going to rank myself, and then I'd love to hear how you would actually, if you agree or disagree.
Okay.
Jen,
all right.
Feel free to chime in.
Our producer in the back, our digital director, she knows Orah pretty well.
Yep.
So, okay.
Okay. Is it 1 to 5 or 1 to 10?
No, 1 to 10.
Okay.
So 0 is maybe or 1 maybe in Elon Musk. Again, we're not slamming these individuals, but we're just saying that maybe they can't read the room as well.
Okay.
And Obama, who's a 10, who probably reads the room really, really well.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to give myself a 7.
Folks, she gave herself
Does that seem too high or too low?
I mean, that's pretty high, right?
Okay, here's the deal.
Okay.
The reason I want to give myself...
hold it.
Okay.
Yes, you're going to give reasons why.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay, the
Back
reason I
it
wouldn't
up
give
with
myself
data.
a 10 is because I have had feedback my entire life
Okay.
that I'm very blunt. I know this about myself. I've worked very hard on it.
Yes. Okay, listen, I haven't known you that long. We've known each other, what, maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe?
I mean, I've been going here for 10 years, but sure. Sure.
You have not been going here 10 years. Really?
Yes.
Okay, but when did you start like volunteering, like you popped up on the scene where I would have had a conversation with you?
I don't
Let's
know.
talk about our relationship for a second. Like,
How long
I
ago
don't
have we been
remember.
podcasting?
We've been podcasting 4 years.
This is our 6th
It
year.
is not 6 years. Were
Yeah.
we before COVID?
We
were not before
We were
COVID.
pre-COVID. For sure we were
You
pre-COVID.
were pre-COVID.
This guy doesn't even know how long he's known me. Let's give him a 3 on the level. Let's give him just kidding.
Orah,
Wow.
like I said,
feels
I've
like
known you for
yesterday.
almost a decade, so I feel like I know you pretty well. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
He's like, I don't know you very well. I haven't known you that long.
The time has just flown by. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Oh my
I think it's a
gosh,
good
it's
thing.
so
Okay, that's
funny.
great. All
That's
right.
great.
So I've known you for a long time,
Yeah.
but you give me so you said 7.
Yeah.
And then you said
I
you're
said
a
I'm
blunt person.
pretty
I was
blunt.
going to say that I've known you like almost a decade now.
Yep,
so
that's what he was gonna
I
say.
know you're a blunt person.
Yeah, you can confirm that.
Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question. This has nothing to do, but just because I have you on the spot in front of all the millions of
great.
people, now I want to ask you this question. Do you mind when people are blunt with you?
I prefer it.
You prefer it?
I do.
Just tell me the truth and I don't care.
Yes. I mean, I don't want somebody to be rude.
Like, okay.
But I prefer somebody to be straight. A lot of times my questions to people are trying to get to what they're saying. Like, I don't understand them unless they're being more straightforward.
Okay, got
Do you know
it.
what I mean?
Okay, yeah, no, I can
Where I'm
see
like,
that.
what are you
That's great.
saying? Are you upset that they said that? Or
Okay,
are you like,
that's good.
what's occurring here?
That's good.
You know?
Trying to read the room.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So
Be blunt with you.
that is a flaw and also a positive. I love being blunt.
Yes.
I have had to work a lot on finessing that.
When you're
but
blunt, you don't feel like you're being mean.
I
You're being
don't.
clear.
That's what my goal is.
Okay,
I
I
used
just-
to be very mean.
Okay.
So my mother tells me.
Okay.
But I do think now I do just try to be like clear.
Okay.
And I don't like the drama of like miscommunications.
Okay, I understand.
So
Okay,
I like to
makes
just
sense.
like kind of just
Okay.
get straight to it.
So blunt would be one thing.
Yes.
Okay. So
But I
But how does
also-
that mean that you're emotionally intelligent?
I know. Okay,
I'm
so
just
that
trying
was
to
in the
back that
negative.
up.
That was a negative.
Oh,
like
that's a
why I'm
negative.
not a 10.
Oh,
because
gotcha.
I'm
Okay.
blunt. So
Okay.
I think that maybe can be a hindrance.
Okay,
But
got
I
it.
do think that I try very hard to see humanity in everybody.
Okay.
Like, so I won't see a Republican or a Democrat and
Right.
think like they're the worst person. I cannot believe that.
I'm
Blah 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 blah. blah.
canceling you.
Exactly.
Okay.
I tend to just be like, I understand that this is where they're coming from. It's not
Okay.
where I come from.
yeah.
So because I know that I think that way and I tried to trend that way, that's why I gave myself a 7.
Okay. So I'm going to rephrase what I think I heard you
Okay.
say. Okay. You try to put yourself in people's shoes. Is that what you're? No, that's not
I
what you're
try
saying?
to. I don't know if I can like see what they're seeing, but I
Okay.
can understand why they think that. Do you know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're trying to get in their mind to see
Yeah.
how they're saying, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah,
that
yeah. Yeah,
sense?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So that's why you would see a 7. You're not just focused on your own thoughts and feelings.
Right.
You're trying to be intentional about where's that other person coming from.
Totally.
Is
And
that right?
because we know
Okay.
that I'm opinionated. That's not a secret. I'm very opinionated.
Shocking.
But I think I'm
Okay.
able to see where other people are forming their opinions and I'm not like too harsh of a judge to those people. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, 100%.
So that's
I got it.
why I think I'm high.
Okay.
I'm higher as a 7.
I thought you
than-
said why you're hot. I was like, what? Did I mishear that, or is that
I
you
was
were
saying
saying?
hi. I was saying
hi. I was like, wow, okay.
That also. But that is what, no, that's
for
why.
Phil, right
Yeah,
there.
really. That's why I put myself
sorry.
not on
Yeah.
like a 4.
No, I
I
get
thought
it.
like
I
maybe
get it.
closer to a 7.
Okay, yeah, I got you. 7. Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, she says true. Jen says true.
Jennifer,
ring me a
our
7?
digital director.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, great. Ooh, I can't wait for her to grade your
Wow.
brother.
Okay, wow. I know my sister is going to grade me. Okay, so is
Exciting.
it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've known David for about 2 years. So I can really
That's
tell
awesome.
you.
That is awesome. Yes, I deserve that. I deserve that so bad. If my wife was here, she would be cracking up because she knows I am horrible with like time frame and like putting all the stuff together. Heather, I love you. Okay. I'm going to give me one notch above you. I'm going to say I'm an 8.
Oh, look at that.
I'm going to say that. Wow. Woo,
She
Jennifer,
disagrees.
I don't
She
think she
disagrees.
agrees with that already, but that's okay. I'm going to say that because I'm constantly kind of thinking and trying to figure out where other people are coming from.
Okay.
Okay, I'm putting myself in their shoes, trying to figure out where. And I think this comes as being a preacher too, because when I'm speaking to a room, to a crowd, to an auditorium, to a sanctuary, to a worship center, I want to know, like, what are the questions that people are asking?
Yeah.
Like what's going on in their mind, not what's going in my mind, but like what are the struggles that they're going through, and what are the questions that they're asking? That's a big deal. I think also when I'm in a meeting, I'm trying to gauge like oftentimes, like I'm leading a staff and I'm like, man, is there conflict between some of the staff members? Is there something that's under the rug that I don't know? Is somebody not feeling well today? Why aren't they like they're not as joyful as they normally are? Maybe
Yeah.
something's going on. Like I'm always having these thoughts about, man, I need to talk with them like by themselves, right? And be able to say, is everything okay? Are you
Okay.
okay? And I'll do that like all the time.
Okay. So here's my question though. You're
Okay.
saying that you're 2 points away from perfection?
Well, I'm just saying I'm almost like Obama. That's pretty much what I'm saying. Oh, that's awesome. Yes.
Jen,
I
what
mean,
do you
from
think of his
an
number?
8 to a 10, that's a long way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I didn't say 9.5. That's almost perfection. Okay, Jennifer, you can be honest because you're my sister anyways. I don't care.
I would say that you guys both are highly
Oh,
on it.
so she's saying, just so that you can hear us, so she was saying that we're both highly emotionally intelligent.
Because I think that you guys both do separate things. I think you look for
She-
other things.
Okay.
And I think, Orah, you look for if people aren't feeling well, you will call them. You really. I think
Yeah.
you both
Orah is
have
looking
this-
for people that I'm just trying to make sure we get this on the podcast. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
So Jennifer is saying because she didn't have a mic.
Yeah.
So, but Jennifer is saying basically that Orah will see if people are sick, and then she'll call them, she'll text them, she'll like be in their life, right? Okay, this is what Jennifer's
And I
saying.
will say
Okay.
that I think you guys both have.
We
like,
both
you
have.
say people can feel the room.
Okay. Yes, we can feel the way, feel
Oh,
the room.
we both feel the
We can
room.
both feel the room, is what Jennifer's saying, and she knows this pretty well, right? Yeah.
You both
Yeah.
have.
Okay.
True.
Okay, we both feel the room.
I think so too.
And Jennifer's known me for at least 3 or 4 years. So I mean, she can say that. Okay, so Jennifer is giving us high marks on both ends.
Yes.
Okay, so whether that's
Okay.
7, 8, whatever.
Yes.
Okay, great. All
We
right,
both
that's good.
have a high
Hey, high five
EQ.
there.
Yes.
EQ. Okay, so emotional intelligence.
Yeah. How high is your IQ?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't think it's superiorly high.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty. I'm pretty average. I mean, my wife would say this. I am horrific when it comes to math.
Years
I can't-
knowing people. Yeah.
Years knowing people, right? I mean, it can be whatever number it is. I'm not necessarily great at that.
Yeah.
I love history, and I'm horrible at science. I mean, I think I would come in pretty average.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Have you ever done an IQ test?
No, I would hate to. I wouldn't even want to do one.
Would not do one?
I would-
Because would it make you feel less than?
It would make me feel bad.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
100%. I feel the same way.
Yeah. I'd be like, I don't need to feel bad about myself. I'm good. I don't need to take that.
I think should we be vulnerable and do an IQ test,
Oh
and then
my
we can like
gosh.
kind of say who's
Yeah.
got what. I would not want to do one with my wife. She would be like 10 points or 20 points higher than me.
So would Phil.
Phil the
He'd
same?
be
Okay.
so much
Oh,
higher
yeah,
than me.
100%.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but
right.
I just wonder how often that correlates. If you have a high IQ, is your EQ lower?
Okay, yes.
Vice versa. I wonder.
Well, okay, so there's research about this.
Oh, great.
We don't
Perfect.
talk about this stuff in my hot little hands.
Oh, I love it when he says
Okay,
that.
I love this.
Speaking
Okay.
of hot,
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Oh, I've never thought of my hands as being hot, but I do say that
my
quite
gosh.
frequently from the pulpit and I don't even know where I got that term from. Where did hot little hands, like, what does that mean?
I don't know. I've never heard
Jennifer,
anybody say it
can
but you.
We're going to look. my wife has never said hot little hand. Babe, you've got hot hands.
He's a hand model and is part time.
It's like a Seinfeld episode, hot hand. Oh my gosh. No, Jennifer, I want you, please look that up. Where does that phrase come from? Okay, so in my research-laden hands right here, there's this researcher her name is Angela Duckworth. Have you heard of her?
I have heard of her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. She's got a TED Talk, and
Yeah.
so her concept and her research is all about grit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Grit over IQ.
Mm-hmm.
And her big research was that she looked at people that were in the academy. Oh my gosh! Let me get this. In the West Point Military Academy.
Okay.
Okay. And this is what she did. She took over 100,000. Oh, I don't have all the details. It's on my other notes. But anyways, they took, I think it was over 100,000 people
Okay.
that have gone through the West Point Military Academy over
Okay.
the years, okay? And she found that the cadets' grit scores were better predictors of who would complete the grueling summer training than any other metric, including physical fitness and academic achievement.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
or even leadership experience.
Okay.
So her idea of grit is the ability to persevere throughout the difficulties of life.
Yeah.
In other words, someone that's willing to hang on even though they don't see the end coming.
Yes.
They're willing to grit it out,
Mm-hmm.
which is a powerful indicator of one's success.
Yeah.
More than an IQ, more than their intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
This is a powerful indicator of someone's success. And we see this in Japan as well.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think that Japanese students are smarter than American students.
Okay.
They did this huge research study, and they determined that Japanese students, and this is just a vague generality here. I don't have all the specifics, but you can look this research up. But the Japanese students spent, on average, like 2 or 3 minutes more per problem that they were faced with than Americans were.
Interesting.
And so they had a higher success rate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that they were necessarily more intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
it's that they were willing to persevere longer through the problem.
Mm-hmm.
This gets to like intelligence, like we're talking about, like what's your IQ,
Mm-hmm.
and then what's your emotional intelligence. And part of emotional intelligence is the ability to grit through something even when it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about being able to read the room, but that's just one area of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Grit is another one. It's a big factor to success.
Yes.
I've seen that in my own life.
Okay.
I know I'm talking here a
No.
lot, but
Yeah.
but I've seen that in my own life, like the ability to like hold on when things are really challenging.
Mhm.
Our church and our history, we've gone through this in a prior podcast, and you can look at that later. But we were a church of 4,000, and now we're a church of 500 or 600, right? And I've been there through the whole arc of that, and I've been able to hold on and have some measure of success, partly because I've held on and have not given up.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not all me. I'm not trying to say that, but the idea of holding on. A lot of people in our church that have held on and haven't given up, and I think there's some emotional intelligence to that.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful, and it's an indicator of success. We wouldn't have 2 church plants. We wouldn't continue to have the missionaries that we have out there.
Yeah.
Again, that's not me. It's our whole team. But the idea is that we hold on to something, and we don't just walk away. We don't give up.
Yes.
And we tend to do that in our culture because we're the McDonald's. If I don't have it in 30 seconds, if I don't have it my way right away, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I read a
Okay.
book about this, and it was called the Finnish power of sisu, and it's that's a word for Finland.
Sisu, isn't that your
my maiden
middle
name? Yeah, it's my middle name.
What? Okay, so tell me the name of the book again. I've not heard of
It's
this.
something like the Finnish power of Finnish, Finn.
Oh, like the Finnish,
Yeah.
not the finished
Yeah,
work, but
yeah.
the Finnish word of sisu.
And it's this
Okay.
idea, especially of people who like live in a place where the sun's not there a lot,
Ooh,
that
right.
they tend to have like a grit
Okay.
that can help them just like be successful in life, have a higher happiness score, whatever. And it's this idea of like of sisu, of persevering.
I've not heard that.
Oh, really?
No, I have not heard
Oh,
that.
cool. Yeah, there's also on.
We'll have to let's make sure we put that link in the description as well,
Yeah.
the book of that, because that sounds fascinating to me.
There's a show on Apple Plus with Eugene Levy where he's like traveling places and he's a
Who's
grumpy
she?
traveler.
Sorry, Eugene Levy.
He's a celebrity.
Oh, celebrity. Sorry.
But he goes to Finland, and
Okay.
they kind of dive into that too on an
Interesting.
episode about
Okay.
that. So
Okay.
you can watch that too.
Fascinating.
But yeah, it is.
Okay.
There's also this idea of like being able to be more successful and happier.
Yes.
With a higher sisu level.
Yeah. I think about like bringing in the spiritual context now. I think about like Hebrews chapter 11, which is the great hall of faith. And here are all of these people that don't. I mean, when we think of people that are filled with faith, we think like it's like name it and claim it.
Yeah.
They've said it and they got it right away. But the
Yes.
reality is that these people in Hebrews chapter 11, like they went decades holding on to something that they never saw.
Yeah.
Or they didn't see. Or some of them, they didn't even see it in their own lifetime.
Yeah,
That's crazy to me.
I know.
But that's a highly emotionally, this is kind of what we're trying to talk about today. To me, that's emotional. We can almost call it faith intelligence or emotional intelligence. Like they're holding on in a grit way to say, no, this is what God said. I'm going to hold on to it. I'm not going to let it go.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Really Yeah,
So,
totally.
sorry. I thought
No,
I'd
I
go.
like
I
that.
thought I'd go there. So
I took a thing on just a picture that went over things for emotional intelligence.
okay. Yep. Go ahead.
And it was really how to know if you have a low emotional intelligence level.
Okay. So in
Okay.
other words, we're finding out the indicator. Like,
Yes.
So you're gonna tell me whether or
Well,
not my 8 score
true.
is absolutely right or not.
It's true.
Is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm ready.
it's-
I'm gonna be
it's-
vulnerable.
8 things is what it lists.
Whew, okay. Let's do this. Let's
You
take
ready?
the deep dive.
Okay.
8
a
things.
lack of self-awareness.
A lack of. Okay. How do you judge yourself if you're lack of
I
self-awareness?
know. The people around you will have to tell you.
Okay. Okay. We need to bring a third party in here.
Yeah, really,
Jennifer,
Jen.
we need her on the podcast. Okay.
Poor
Or
listening
maybe,
skills.
maybe we need to bring Phil and Heather here
Yeah,
because
oh,
that
boy.
would be the real
They'll
deal.
rank us way lower.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so say that again. What was
Okay.
number 1?
Lack of self-awareness.
Okay.
Poor listening skills.
Yeah.
Inability to empathize.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Difficulty managing emotions.
Okay.
Blaming others. I think that one's really big.
We need to talk about
Inability to
Okay.
accept feedback. That one's big.
Yeah, man. You know, people say that they want feedback, but
I
I
know.
found they really
I
don't.
know. I want it if it's positive.
At least you're blunt and honest,
Yes.
Orah, and I appreciate that about you. I want it, but then it's like, yeah, and I'll listen to it, and then it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then it makes you better afterwards.
I know.
Right?
But even better if it's positive.
I mean, come
I'm just
on.
saying.
Only tell Orah the good
That's
things.
all I want.
That's all she wants.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Lack of adaptability. I know.
Man, that's
Big.
like a whole message right
I
there.
know.
Okay, yes, keep going.
Okay. And then poor conflict resolution
Yeah.
skills.
Yeah.
Those
yeah,
were the
yeah,
8.
Yeah. And I find most people, like, they hate conflict anyway. So then
Mm-hmm.
if you hate conflict and you can't lean into conflict, then typically you're not going to have a great resolution with the conflict that you
know.
have because you're not even willing to talk about it in the first place.
That's so true.
Right?
The positive
Ouch.
part of being blunt. You just head first into conflict.
You're
you know?
willing to do it, which I admire people like that. I am not a blunt person. I typically am not a blunt person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a thing that I love to say because I don't love conflict. I think this idea, if you're blunt, you love it. You're all in on conflict. I don't
100%.
love it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody loves
But
conflict.
you lean into it.
I do. I
And
don't shy
and
away
the
from
reason
it.
why you lean into it is because
I don't like miscommunication.
okay.
I want it all resolved.
So you'd rather have the resolution.
Yes.
And so because you value the resolution, you're willing to be blunt.
Totally.
Excuse me. Okay.
Which, and I do think part of a huge thing for emotional intelligence for me
Okay.
is assuming positive intent. Like you kind of feel like when you're around somebody who's doesn't have a high emotional intelligence, they're always like, that person's the worst, and that like they have no positive vibes about anybody around them.
Yeah, it's almost like they are. What would you say? They're
I think a victim mentality. I hate
Ooh.
saying that. I don't like using that, but
But we probably all know people that have
I know.
like those kinds of
Yes.
like. You
And
know,
victim-
I'm going to
yes,
say tendencies.
tendencies.
I'm going to say tendencies.
Yes.
It's not who they are, but it's their tendencies. And man, I have a really hard time being around people like that.
Isn't it hard?
Like even as a pastor, like I want to love them, but I'm like, man, it is so just
Draining.
Everything is always someone else's issue and problem, and
Yes.
they did this, and I got stabbed in the back, and it's just like at the end of the day, it's like, man, you only pastor them so much.
I know, it's really hard. I feel like a lot of people with victim mentality have a really high like selfishness level.
Yes.
Like those kind of go hand in hand. Maybe
There's
narcissistic, I don't know, but just like
No, that's so true.
I just feel like those go hand in hand, which makes them kind of insufferable to be around.
Yeah, so let's talk about this because of the narcissistic tendencies that people tend to have. I think we were talking earlier behind the scenes before we even started filming that you were saying that this was a big deal, and I was like, "What? Are you serious? Is this
I feel
kind
like
of the thing?"
narcissism is like maybe like the trigger. Like it's very popular to say like, oh, I was in a relationship with a narcissist, or I know a narcissist, or like my mom's a narcissist. You know, like that's kind of a popular term to like label other people right now.
Yeah, interesting. So, how would you define a narcissistic individual?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I
do you
looked
have
it
that?
up.
Honestly, I didn't know that
Oh
you had
my
this looked up, but I'm
goodness.
like, I think it's important to define terms
Yes,
so that we
okay.
know what it is. Okay, so here we go.
Narcissism.
Okay.
A personality trait or mental health condition that involves an excessive sense of self-importance, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. A person with narcissistic tendencies may have an exaggerated sense of self-importance, overvalue their accomplishments, and have exhibitionistic need for attention.
Wow.
I know there's a lot, but
Okay.
were you thinking of
what
people?
would be?
who were
Yes,
doing
I,
this?
of course I was. I'm sure you were.
Isn't that funny?
Okay, so pick one or two of what you just said
Oh,
that
boy.
like rings true for you in terms of
Yes.
when you're like being able to identify someone that's in that kind of
Oh
category.
boy, I think the
one
need,
or two.
The
Give me
need
two,
for
max.
attention is huge.
Okay, need for
me.
attention. Okay.
Yes.
What does that look like practically? Like I need
Yes.
attention, and what does that mean?
It's talking about how smart you are, how it's
Okay.
hard to dumb things down for other people,
Wow.
how you well, it's just really hard. You don't see it my way because I just have a really analytical mind. It's
Mm.
that vibe.
You mean like the vibe is it's always coming back to them?
Yeah.
Like you don't get me. You don't know what I'm thinking. This is why okay.
And you're bringing attention to the fact that you're smarter
Yes.
than other people.
Got it. Okay.
Is like you're just kind of being like, well, you just don't get it. You're not as smart as me. My brain is just really smart, you know?
Well, or I do have an high IQ.
So he says.
I am one more step emotionally intelligent than you are. So just so you know.
Good to know.
And that's a huge level between a 7 and an 8, I must
Huge-
say.
Huge step. One of us is a pastor. One of us
Exactly. I am the lead pastor
Yeah.
here. But no, to your point, like it's always about them, that they're better, they're smarter.
Yes.
Maybe they always bring up like examples of how they've done it better.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
And I also think the lack of empathy is huge. It's such a
okay.
characteristic because they can even try to fake empathy, I think, a lot of narcissists. but
I've
you can
seen
tell
this.
that it's not real.
It's not real.
Like, you're like,
Give
you're
me an
actually
example.
Not,
Give
no,
me
I
an
can't.
example.
I
Okay.
can't.
No, not with a person, but
Okay.
like a phrase or something. No, tell me the name and the social security number of the person that you're thinking of right now, and we will dox them
Oh
right
my
to the whole
goodness
world.
gracious. Okay, yeah. I can't.
She can't even do. She can't even do it. No, I was just trying to think of like,
Yeah.
like what kind of phrasing would someone like that
Oh my
say?
goodness.
Right? They have no empathy whatsoever.
Yes, I think people
So you're
say
going
like,
through you're going through some kind of difficulty, like maybe you're having a relational issue with your husband. Okay, so blah, blah,
no,
blah,
I've
blah.
never had that.
Okay, well
I'm
let's
just kidding.
choose something else. There was a money issue. You're having a money problem.
Yeah, I feel like when you're talking to a narcissist, they might say something like, "Oh, well, yeah, I've also had money problems." So, like you might say your thing for 20 seconds and then they bring it back and they're talking about them for 10 minutes.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Here's how I managed it and how I solved it. And man, it was really bad for me to go through this.
Yes.
But man, I'm telling you, this is how I worked my way through it. And
Mm-hmm.
so whatever. But I understand what you're going through. But man, really, this is what I learned.
Exactly. And
Let me
just
tell
that
you,
one little phrase, like, I understand what you're doing, or I understand what you're going through, and then
Yeah.
they just keep talking.
Yep.
You're like, do you though? Because I haven't
Do
said
you
very much.
really? Really? I like read the room, people.
Yes, totally.
No. I know. I seriously, I know people like this.
Yes.
It is really hard.
Yes. And don't you think a lot of the people you know are Christian?
Mm-hmm. Some of them, for sure.
I mean, not all of them.
Yeah.
But it is
Don't
interesting.
put those Christians in a category.
I'm sorry.
It happens
I'm
both.
just-
it
it does.
happens in all genres.
It totally does.
Right.
I'm
okay.
just saying my expectations for people's behaviors
Are
higher for
which
a Christian.
It legitimately should be.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm with you with that.
Where
I
you're just like, hey,
totally-
are you listening?
Yeah.
Like,
we're in small group and it's all about them.
Yes.
And like, hello.
yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Right. Yeah.
Totally. So I do think it's popular now to say like, "Hey, I was around a narcissist." Say,
Mm.
first of all, we can't diagnose somebody with narcissism because we're not, professionals. But I do think
You can come pretty close. Is what you're saying.
I do think that's probably telling that people feel like they are surrounded by narcissists.
Yeah.
Like a telling of like kind of where we are as like a vibe for personalities in
Okay.
the current time period. You know?
So then the question I have is then how does one respond to a narcissist? Like
Oof.
from an emotionally intelligent way.
I
What,
know.
what you cancel them? You stop talking about them? Are you
I
blunt
know.
with them? How
I
do you
know.
resolve?
Okay.
Do you try to fix a narcissist?
Personally,
I want to know. There's
personally, I know.
no right or wrong answer here. I'm
I
asking.
personally let it ride.
Okay.
I personally just go, they're not going to take feedback from me.
Right.
Like
I
I
can't
have to
change them.
accept where they are and
Okay.
like love them with that and just know that everything's with a grain of salt. You know?
Okay.
Like to me, it's not worth the drama for me to put the effort and then have no change.
Okay. Right. It's like Jesus said, don't cast your pearls before swine. Is that what
Yes.
I'm
Well,
not
that's
calling them swine. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like there's moments where you know that what you say is going to affect people and they're going to take it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's moments where you know, this person's not going to listen to me anyway, so I'm not going to say anything.
Totally.
Right?
And it's not worth the drama
Right.
of that. Like,
Right.
The hurt of the relationship. You're just like, that's not worth it. Let's
Okay.
try to influence them another way.
Okay.
You know?
Do you cancel them? Do
I
you stop talking with them?
Oh, I guess it depends on how detrimental they are as a person.
Okay.
If they're like
if
hurting you in
they're-
some way,
yeah, okay.
toxicity
The
level,
toxicity level
or
is okay. Yeah.
but generally no.
Okay, yeah.
For me.
You just let it ride, and we'll try to enjoy the relationship as much as we can, recognizing that that's who they are.
But the reality is I don't want to hang out with a narcissist.
Yes.
So they're very draining, you know? So the reality is it's not like you end up being like super bosom buddies with the narcissist because you're just like, oh my gosh, that took so much out of me to hang out
They're
with them.
not your bestie.
Totally.
Okay, got it. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep. I don't know. I mean, it's a blanket statement. Do narcissistic individuals really have besties?
Oh, yeah.
I legitimately wonder. I wonder if they have a whole bunch of like shallow friends.
Yeah. I think they go through a lot of friends.
Right? I think that's probably true.
I listened to a whole podcast on narcissism.
Oh, really?
And it was really, really interesting. And I think that was like one of my takeaways is that overall they are appealing to people because they're like vibrant sometimes, you know?
Yes, they're kind of attractive because they're willing to say all kinds of
Yes.
crazy things about themselves and blah, blah, blah. And that can be attractive
For a time
while.
period, yes.
Okay.
And then they just end up going through, they might move a lot, they might change jobs, whatever, because they need more people to impress or they need more, you know, whatever. Other people have been turned off by their personality.
I've seen this in the church world so much.
Yeah.
Like people that like, again, I'm not picking on everybody that does this. And sometimes you have legitimate reasons for kind of moving from church to church. But there is that church bouncer that bounces from place to place to place. And you can almost pick up on it immediately.
Yeah.
Because they come in immediately with, I've done this, I've done that, I can do this, I've done that, really should need to hear what I have to say. And in my mind, I'm like, man, you really need to be discipled, but I don't think that you're going to really learn
Yeah. It's so
from
hard.
anybody here.
Yeah.
Because you already know everything.
Yes.
Right? And so you try to love them, but then what I have found is they don't last much longer than 6 months and they're out moving on to the next place.
So
which is really sad.
I know.
I wish there was a way in which I haven't found a way in which like to really break through to someone.
Yeah.
I think you have to be kind of blunt, but then you have to have the relational capital to be able to be blunt with
I
somebody.
know.
And that takes time. And when they don't give you the time to do that,
Yes.
then they've moved on and you've missed the opportunity.
So the question is,
Okay.
can your emotional intelligence level only be improved through God? Like, is it like, hey, your neurons are not on the same, you know, they're firing differently. You're
Saying, is it biological or is it spiritual?
Yeah.
Is it like intelligence?
Yeah.
Let's just say that your IQ, can you improve on your IQ? I don't know if that's,
I don't know.
can we look that up? Because I really would like to know that. Is it
I would
because
think
that would be biological, right? You have no choice in the matter. You've been given the smarts that you've been given.
Yeah. I would think my IQ is going down as I've gotten further away from school, don't you think?
Well, I think that's true, right? Don't they say that most brilliant people, they come up with all their stuff in their 20s or something, and then it declines?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes, you can.
You can grow.
You do brain training.
Oh, brain training. I wonder, but can you go from like a low level? I don't even know what the numbers are. Can
Me
you go
neither.
from like an 80 to like a 120 or a 190? Does that make sense? Or are you limited in kind of like
The
how far
scope.
really you can go? Because you can't, not everybody can become some, space super scientist,
Yeah.
right? You can't become an Elon Musk overnight just by
Totally.
training. Lots of people want to,
Yeah.
they can't.
Yes. Can
Okay.
you come up with amazing quotes like Helen Keller? I don't know.
I mean,
you know?
come on. Let's be real here, people.
You can. They say
You can.
They really can.
if you do all these trainings.
If you do training, Jennifer is saying that yes, you can improve.
Improve your IQ.
I think that's suspect. I think we need to do a deeper dive. But I don't think that you can go from like an 80 to like double your number.
You feel
Maybe
like-
you can in these tests, but it doesn't make you any smarter.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
Like, you're like, well, I cannot become a quantum physicist.
That's
Like, it's
what
just not going to
This is what I'm trying to say.
Like,
yes, exactly right. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I totally forgot what we were
So
talking
I was
about.
saying,
Sorry.
do you think that like, do you think that you need God to like? What I need to be praying for people to be like,
Okay.
please help their emotional
Thank you.
intelligence level
Yeah.
to adjust.
Yeah.
Or do you think it's just like, no, you can't. There's a spectrum, and you can through steps.
Right.
Just
It's just the
improve.
way that God created you. This
Yeah.
is just who you are. I'm gonna say that you absolutely can grow in your emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one, you can in your relationship with God,
Mm-hmm.
and two, that you grow in your emotional intelligence in the way in which you interact with other believers.
Yeah.
In other words, community creates emotional intelligence.
Got it.
And your spiritual walk with God creates emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I would say those two are major factors in growing in emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And you're gonna ask me like, well, how and why? Can you back this up?
Yeah.
Is that what you're gonna say?
Well, I'm going to say like, yes. I say I have no empathy.
You
How
have
are
no
you
empathy?
going to get me to have empathy?
Okay. So if we're going to grow in our walk with God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus calls us to love the world the way in which he loved the world.
Yeah.
To have empathy for others the way he had empathy for. I mean, this really is a spiritual dynamic. I'm looking right into the camera that we're not just talking about this stuff up here, Elon Musk and all this stuff, but this has deeply spiritual implications.
Mm-hmm.
Because God calls us to, I'm going to say this, bear one another's burdens.
Yeah.
He calls us to love one another the way in which he loves us.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't call us to do those things if it wasn't possible for us to be able to grow in those ways.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay?
That's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I moved you over to my side,
I
that we
believe
can,
you.
that
I
we
believe
can
you.
do that. Yeah. So how do we grow in those ways? Well, I
Mhm.
think we grow in those ways not in isolation, but in community.
Yeah.
And I think this is so critical because I see, again, let's go back to the narcissist.
Yeah.
That those individuals I don't see in community very much.
Yeah.
They don't. That maybe they'll be in community for a little bit, but then they extract themselves. Why? Because they're not willing to be sharpened as iron sharpens iron. That's that quote from Proverbs that says, that we sharpen each other.
Yeah.
Or when I get in a relationship with you or Jennifer or my wife, I mean, it doesn't matter who it is, right? We have different ways of looking at life.
Totally.
And so it's not all about me. I'm not an island anymore. And you're telling me things that I might disagree with, but I'm going to have to love you anyways.
Mhm.
I'm not canceling you out of my life. And so now I'm growing in that emotional intelligence, my compassion, right? My love, my whatever. That we've got to grow in that.
Yeah. And I do think that comes back to, I mean, we've talked about on a few of our podcasts about racism, like getting around
this is great.
people who are different than you
100%.
Is only going to be a positive.
That's right. And I was thinking about that even for like the homeless. We do a
Yeah.
homeless ministry where we do outreach every single, I'm going to make this a shameless plug.
Yeah.
If you've never done it, you need to do it at least once. Go out. We do it. I think it's the third Saturday of every single month. We meet here at the church. It's a small group of people. I mean, like maybe 15 people or so or less, and they go out. But again, it's the idea that we're putting ourselves into situations and places where we're a little bit uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that helps shape us because it should breed within us compassion.
Mm-hmm.
God left the beauty of of heaven to come to the sin of the world. And why did he do that? Because he loved us so much.
Yeah.
And then I can't. I don't even know if I want to say this, but did God? He didn't grow in compassion, but he saw compassion in a different way.
Say it again.
Did God? I'm not saying that God grew in compassion because he's compassionate. He's always compassionate. But did he see compassion a different way? I don't even know if theologically I believe this. Let me think out loud for a second.
Mm-hmm.
When God is up in heaven and he has compassion for humanity, that's one way of having compassion.
Mm-hmm.
But if he is God in flesh and he sees the sin of humanity around him, don't you think he's seeing compassion in a different light?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Again, I'm not saying he's growing in it because he is full of compassion. Scripture says that. He's full of compassion. But does he see it a different way?
But he could be opening up another facet that is different.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
So can't we do the same thing?
Yeah.
By
that's
connecting with people of color, right? Or those that don't have a home, that are homeless, or those that are Republican or Democrat, and sitting down and having a conversation and seeing things a little bit differently. I think that grows us, or at least gives us another way of thinking.
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay.
I like that.
Good. All right. You heard it here, folks. First.
That's right.
Okay,
You
good.
did.
Okay, good.
I was
What else
thinking
we got?
one way that
Yeah.
you could grow in emotional intelligence is your vulnerability level.
I have this on my notes.
Oh, you do? Oh, great.
We don't talk about this. So you go ahead, you tell me yours, but man,
Yeah.
I think it's massive.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think a lot of what we've talked about that people can bring the conversation back around to themselves in like a selfishness level.
That's right.
So you want to have better conversations, and a great way to do that is to be a listener.
Yep.
But another great way to do that is to actually be vulnerable, to be known.
That's right.
And I just think that in and of itself will open you up to community in a way that makes it's almost like a palpable connection
Yes.
that will make you more emotionally intelligent.
100% agree.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go back to the narcissist for a second.
Yeah.
The narcissist is going to say about all the things that they do really well, probably,
Mm-hmm.
and things that they've gone through. Rarely do I see a narcissist like really be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think they tend to be up here.
Mhm.
I went through this, but I overcame it. I'm not there right now. I'm never in it.
Yeah.
I'm always over it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Vulnerability states, this is where I am now.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, so a narcissist.
Yeah. Instead of a testimony,
Thank you.
it's
Yes.
like really saying like, I'm sitting in this mess right now.
That's right.
Like I'm not out of it yet.
And the
This is
church
where I
doesn't
am.
do a very good job of that.
No.
And I'm going to say I don't do a very good job of providing those opportunities even in the church, maybe on a Sunday morning, because
hard.
it's really hard to be vulnerable.
It's really, really hard.
really hard.
And to be vulnerable, you want to already have a sense of safety.
Yes.
So like to do the very first step is
Correct.
so tough.
That's right.
You're like, I don't know how they're going to react. Do I even want to be vulnerable with this person? Like they're kind of a stranger. There's a whole thing.
That's
it's
right.
tough. And then sometimes when you're vulnerable, you wish you could take it back.
Well, this is what again, we're going to go back to Brené Brown. I mean, this was
Mm-hmm.
these were on my notes. A lot of people know who Brené Brown is. She talks about vulnerability. This is like her major research.
Yeah.
But she talks about a vulnerability hangover.
Okay.
Right? That's
Mm-hmm.
her terminology where she's like, don't you? It's like the next day after you've shared in small group. Or I'm going to say this, the next Monday after I preached a message on Sunday morning and I said something about my family or
Yeah.
about me or whatever, and I'm like, what did I say?
Yes. Totally.
Right?
Oh, totally.
Because I thought these people were going to be like, a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
But man, now I'm getting some blowback.
Totally.
Whether
Podcast
it's-
episodes.
Podcast, yes.
People will come up and say something and you're like, oh boy. Here we go.
Yeah, right? So we've got the vulnerability hangover.
Yeah.
Right. There's something real to that. So yeah, to your point, like emotionally intelligent people know where the safe space is to be vulnerable at
Yeah.
the right time with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, I think I have a pretty high emotional intelligence. Sorry.
Spitting on me.
I just spit on her. But like, I am like, sometimes I say things to people that I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that to them because that's not a safe space.
I know it's really hard because you can feel it in the moment. You
Yeah.
can feel loosey-goosey.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
When you're speaking from the pulpit, I know you've not done this, but you've done. So I'm speaking to a very small subset of people that are maybe even listening. But there's probably very few pastors that are listening. But you can get to a place in the congregation when you're speaking as a pastor where you feel really connected to the people, and
Oh,
you
wow.
think it's such a safe space.
That's funny.
I don't know. There's something psychological that takes place.
Yeah.
And then you realize you've said something, and you're like, this is like the least safe space ever. Like everyone is judging me, but you don't feel that
Oh, for
because you
sure.
feel so much affirmation from people like that as
Yes.
a pastor, but yet it's not a safe space. So you have
not.
to really guard
Totally.
what you say, but yet you also want to be vulnerable. It's very tough. I'm
As
just
a
gonna say
member of
that.
the congregation of many a church,
Okay.
ours for 10 years,
I thought you've just been here for a couple of years, or we've only known each other for a few years. What have you been doing for
Yeah,
the last
really.
10 years? Sorry.
I will say that I do think as like a congregant, you are judging. You're sitting there and you're being like, do I agree even with what they're saying? Do I, like,
Keep
Jen
going.
agrees.
I
Don't
need
you
to hear
agree
it.
with me?
I need to
You
hear it.
are
I need to
sitting
hear
there
it.
and you're being like, is that even biblical?
right.
Like you are sitting there.
Where does he get this from? What degree does he have?
Totally.
Who is he to be
Where
able to
did he
say
go to
this?
seminary?
Can I tell you, I don't even have those things in my mind. I'm like, man, they really want to hear what I have to say. Maybe I'm narcissistic in the pulpit. It's so bad. It is so bad. If I had all of that ringing in my ear, I would never
know.
say anything.
Oh, wow, I shouldn't have told
right?
you.
No,
Yes,
no, it's
no.
okay. Next Sunday when I'm preaching, oh my gosh,
so
I'm
stressed.
sorry right now already. It's Orah's fault. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So, but this is what Brené Brown has to say.
Yeah.
She says the people who experience most joy and connection are those who believed they were worthy of love and belonging. She talks about these people as being courageous, which has the root of wholeheartedness. The wholehearted people that are willing to open up and be vulnerable,
Yeah.
those are the people that experience the most joy.
Yeah.
The people that are wholehearted, that are willing to
Yes.
open up themselves. And I would say that the relationships that you're able to be most like who you really are the deepest relationships that you're going
Totally.
to have. Right?
Totally. And isn't
Right.
there something about that, a feeling of being known? That's what you're always searching for.
Isn't this what God does for us?
Yes.
Sorry, I had to Jesus juke you just for a second. I had to bring this around. But no, it's true. It's like I mean, this is why God knows us for who we are. If we can accept the fact that we can be ultra vulnerable with him, that he loves us because he created us in the first place.
Yeah.
And then let me throw the layer on top is that's what we're called to do with other people.
Yeah.
That's how I'm called to treat you. That's how I'm called to treat Jennifer and my wife and people in the congregation. It's like I want you to be vulnerable enough with me that I accept you for where you are.
Totally.
Not your sin and all the stuff, but just to say, hey, how God made you and created you. I'm loving you.
Yeah. There's this like when you're first dating somebody and you are like deciding like, okay, we're really going to be all in.
It's a great example. Keep going.
And then
yes.
you have to decide at some point that you're going to tell them your sins, and you have to say like, "Hey, this is the part of me that sucks."
Right.
At some point, you have to decide to do that.
I'm opening up the door.
Yes.
For all of this baggage.
Yes, and at the other side of that, all of a sudden, you're in a strong relationship. Before, it might have been semi-strong, but you were holding something back.
Exactly.
You know?
100%.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the Seinfeld episode where they say something vulnerable and they say, man, that's a matzo ball that's hanging out there in the middle of somewhere. I know. Sorry, you don't watch
No,
Seinfeld.
I don't.
The Seinfeld people right now are cracking up because you know what I'm talking about. That's a matzo ball out there, right? It's like you said something and it's like, oh my gosh, it's just hanging out there.
Yes.
And it's that vulnerable moment. And you're saying that if somebody can receive that with delicacy and empathy and love,
Yes.
it only creates a stronger bond.
Yes.
And the ultimate bond is hopefully between a married couple that says, everything that I am is open up to you.
Yes.
Is that right?
There's no secrets here.
Zero secrets.
Yeah, and that's wild, that feeling when you finally get that.
Oh my gosh. And I just thought about this. And this is what Paul says about the church and Christ in terms of being married. That the picture of marriage is a picture of the church and Christ.
Yeah.
And isn't that the whole idea of being vulnerable? I mean, we're talking about this idea like we can be completely vulnerable with God to say, this is who we are and you love me anyway.
Yes.
And that should create super strong bonds between us and the Lord.
Yes. I love this idea of us revealing our true selves to Jesus like he doesn't already know it. But we're like, hey, here
So
it
good.
is. And he's like, yeah, duh, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah. Hello, I created you.
Exactly.
You can't hide from me,
Exactly.
right? Okay.
And in my head, not all sin, I'm sure he wouldn't react to all sin like this, but in my head, I like to picture him kind of like almost laughing at how seriously we're holding back, of being like okay.
In a happy laugh.
Yes.
Not in a cynical, mean laugh.
And almost excited too, like, you finally told me.
Oh, I'm so
you
happy
did it.
for you.
Yes.
You're so good. No,
I
that's
already
so
knew,
good. Yeah.
but yes,
No. But that's good. Keep going deeper, a little bit
of
deeper in
just
that,
kind
because
of
I
feeling
think that's
like,
powerful.
yes, of feeling like, okay, you can get this closeness with Jesus who already knows you, who already knows your deepest sins, the darkest moments, the things hiding behind that literally nobody knows, of being like, I'm internally very judgmental or very rude. Like, I can't believe the thoughts I have about whatever, you know what I mean? Of being like, oh, I lust more than anybody would ever know, whatever it is.
It doesn't matter, whatever it is.
When
list
you're actually
whatever,
saying, hey, Jesus, let's have a talk.
Like, this is my true self.
Yes.
Right.
And I just have to get this out there.
Right.
I am super selfish. Yeah. I don't think people would love me if they knew how selfish I am.
I'm not going to hide this.
Yes. The acknowledgement and Jesus being like, I know. Wow. I'm here. I love you. Let's work on it.
Let's walk this through together.
Yes.
Yes.
Totally.
Because I love you enough to not leave you there.
Totally.
And I can't deal with it if you're not acknowledging it.
Totally.
Huge.
Totally. I just think that those moments with your walk with God are like, they're the best moments.
Love it. I love
you
it.
know?
So good, Orah.
You're vulnerable with
Really
God
good.
who already knows
Really
it, but
good.
he's a hero.
Really. It's almost like, Paul says that that his power is perfected in weakness.
Yeah.
Like when we can be weak, I know it's so cliche, but when we're weak, he's strong.
Mhm.
I mean, this is what you're saying right here. When we can really open up and be wholehearted, as Brene Brown says, full of courage,
Yeah.
then that's when at our vulnerablest moments, we can be strong in Christ.
Yeah. And exponential growth happens in those moments. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like, hey, I'm just slowly chugging forward. Eventually I'm going to get there. It's like, boof. Like when that was
No.
a great sound effect.
Boof. Boof. No, you had me thinking of a question like, okay, how then can we become more vulnerable with God?
Yeah.
And why is it that we're so hesitant to, if we cognitively know that God knows everything about us
I know.
anyway, why is it that we have such a difficult time? Like, I'm legitimately asking that question. Why is that?
I really think that we don't want to acknowledge it ourselves. I don't even think it's the part as much of going to God with it. I think once you acknowledge it yourself, you're more likely to go to God with it.
Okay.
But I think like you're like, I will not acknowledge that as a sin. I'm not dealing with that. Is it even a sin? You know?
So we're trying to rationalize it.
I think so. I think a lot of times you might be like, all right, well, I'm not even going to touch that, you know, or I'm not as bad as that person. This is fine.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's a big one. I'm not that bad.
Yeah. Like, but really, who is the most perfect spouse? Come on, nobody, you know, I'm pretty good for what I am, you know?
Right.
Like,
For what I am. I love that. Yeah, no. That's
you know,
good. That's
I kind of think that a lot of people, us, everybody, I think a lot of us have that mindset of just like, we haven't acknowledged our truths to ourselves.
No, keep
And
talking
then
because you're making me really think here.
I
about
think
this.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
I really feel like it's like, hey, if we were sitting with ourselves more, we would have to like reckon with that. But we're a busy American culture.
You wonder if that's the enemy trying to keep us so distracted.
I know. Yeah, I just think we like to stay busy. We feel like we're proving ourselves to God, to culture, to our whatever when we're busy. And then we don't actually have to like sit with our faults as much as we would if we were maybe having a Sabbath.
Wow. Wow. No. It's kind of convicting, like to be able to sit with yourself and to go, okay, this is like legitimately, these are the things that I struggle with. And God, I'm going to be vulnerable with you. Even though you know them already, I'm going to say, this is who I am.
Yeah. I'm going to throw another wrench in there, too.
Okay, go ahead.
You're afraid to talk to God about it because you don't want him to fix it because that sounds awful. What happens if you say, hey, I really want to work on my patience? You don't want to pray that prayer.
I rarely want to pray that I want to be a patient person.
You know what I mean?
You know what's going to happen? A flood of things that are going to come your way.
Exactly.
That's going to irritate you. Right.
So there's even the thought, I think, of just being like, what happens if I say, hey, I have a really bad temper?
Ooh, right.
I have like this big issue of road rage or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where all of a sudden you're like, I don't really want to do that. That sounds like it'll be
I don't want to go
frustrating.
down that. That's too much work. That's too much work. I cannot deal with that.
And you're like, I don't have it in me. I'm too busy. I've got too many. I can't have God working with me on that right now.
Yeah,
you
know? I've got too many irons in the fire already.
Exactly.
God, you're going to have to wait on that one.
Yes.
That's good. And I think God is going to have to say, yeah, you're probably right. You're not ready for that either. Right?
He's like, trust me, that's a 10-year plan.
That's right. We're taking the long approach with that one. That's so good. So good. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, okay. Another
Wow.
way I think that you could work on elevating your EQ
Let's do this. Okay. Yep.
is
okay. What else?
how quick you are to apologize.
Ooh.
But with the apology, you
Yes.
have to have empathy with it and the actual realization you were wrong. It can't just be like, hey, I know that this is what people need in life, so sure, I apologize.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It can't be that.
Sorry about that.
So you have to, and I actually think the times table is one of the important things. How long does it take you to get to empathy, and how long does it take you to realize you were wrong?
Wow.
And then from that point, how long does it take you to apologize?
Okay. So I'm going to derail you just for a second.
Okay.
Okay, just for a second.
Okay.
When you apologize to someone, do you say, I am sorry? Or do you have some other kind of lingo depending on the relationship you have with that person? In other words, do you feel like it has to be, I'm wrong, I was sorry?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Okay. Not like, hey, we're good. it's okay. I said this and that was wrong, and then
Right.
the other person says, oh no, you're okay. It's all good.
Yes, I actually do this a lot because I want my kids to see that I will
You're
apologize.
in this parent mode, aren't
Yes.
you? Yes. Okay.
So I
keep
want
going.
them to see, I will tell them, oh, I was wrong. You were right. Even if it takes everything in me to get it out of my mouth, I'm determined
Do
to
you
say
believe
that.
you're wrong, or you're just saying
No,
that
I'm
for your
saying
kids?
I know
Okay,
I'm wrong.
no,
I know
okay,
I'm wrong.
All right, all right.
You know,
so
like
honestly,
you might yell at the wrong kid. You know, whatever it is. You know, you might be like, I thought it was her and it was you.
Right,
you know,
right, okay,
and then you have
okay,
to apologize
Okay.
for yelling, but then
Okay.
also for the wrong. But I think that's a really big one for is like actually like being like, hey, I'm sorry. This is big for even for me and Phil.
Okay.
I want to hear he's sorry.
okay.
And I want to say I'm sorry. I don't want to
Okay.
be like,
Okay.
I get why you feel that way.
That's
You know?
not like a legitimate apology, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I want
Okay.
to be like, hey, I'm sorry. I totally get where you're coming from.
Right,
I
okay.
apologize.
Okay.
And
And-
I think a lot of times,
This is good. Sorry. Yeah, I think I know where you're going. I'm sorry. It's so good.
I think a lot of times we really want people to understand where we're coming from.
Totally.
So that's like the meat of our apology is where we're coming from.
Yep.
Because you don't want people to think you're a crappy person. So you like are like, hey, you just don't actually get where I'm coming from, but I'm still sorry, but you actually just don't. Once you get where I'm coming from, you actually won't think I'm a bad
Here's
person.
why I did what I did.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but you don't understand because this was going. Let me
Yes.
give you context for why I did what I did.
Exactly.
In other words, we should probably be more of those who say, I'm sorry, full stop.
Yes. I think you could say when you said that,
Okay.
it made me have those feelings
What?
when I was 8, you know, and
Now
then I
you're giving context
reacted
to it.
so poorly. You know, like you could
I think
say,
you're saying things out of both your mouth. Or
What?
Well, you just said, like,
know.
okay, I'm just trying to, dig a little
I
bit.
hear you. I
okay.
hear you. I think that you could. I'm saying that you're explaining why you.
Yeah, keep going. You're digging it
I
deeper.
know. Okay, I'm saying it's not.
You
an
were
excuse.
wrong. That's all I want to say.
No, I know. I'm saying it's not an excuse. You're not giving an
Okay.
excuse.
Okay, I'm
You're
listening.
saying like I was triggered and I went crazy and I'm sorry. But
Okay.
you do want to acknowledge that you were triggered.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
So you're
I
not
think
giving
I
an
get it.
excuse. You're saying like that wasn't even my rational brain. Like
But
I
are you
was.
trying to justify it? I'm just legitimately asking the question.
think so.
You're not rationalizing it.
Do you
Be-
think it is?
I said this because I was triggered when I was 8 years old. So therefore, it's really not my fault. I mean, you're not saying that, but it's not really my fault
No.
because I responded out of something that happened when I was a kid.
But I guess I'm thinking of it in like a partner scenario. So I want Phil to know that like, hey, that did trigger me.
Oh, I got you. So that
don't know.
please maybe help me by not doing those things again because
Yeah.
that triggered me and that held me
So
responsible.
I think you're just saying like, hey, this is what like I was just wow, that was wild of me. I was really triggered. I'm really sorry. That
Okay.
I don't know. Is
Okay.
that speaking out of both sides?
I don't know. My wife and I do something different.
What
so.
do you do?
Well, we're big into I was wrong.
Okay.
You were right.
Okay.
That's kind of how we do our apologies.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say, it's like I don't use the word like, I do say I'm sorry. Okay, don't
Mm-hmm.
judge me, everybody. I do say I'm sorry, okay? But like when I really mean something to
Mm-hmm.
her, like if I do something or I say something, which I do this like all the time. Like I'll say something to someone else before I even say it to my wife.
Yeah.
Because I'm that kind of a person. I'm just like, see, I'm giving context already, right?
Yeah.
But the point is like I'll say, babe, I was wrong and you were right.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But the feeling part of it is like, listen, I was in the wrong and you were in the right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, that's an apology. Full on apology.
Yeah.
I think people have different ways in which they apologize.
Right.
And there's different nuances to that. So
Yes.
I don't know that you necessarily have to like say it a certain way or have a certain phrase, but there has to be a strong relational tie and an understanding of that they know that you were wrong.
Right. Yes.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. Yes. I guess
And then
I'm-
to have regret for it or
Yes.
to say you're sorry for it, that it was a wrong thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
I get that.
I don't know if that makes sense
Yeah.
or not, but yeah.
I guess I was saying before that I don't want I think I don't want to say a 20-minute long explanation of everything.
That's right.
Like rehashing almost.
Yes.
But you do want to like say this is my mind was off. I think that's like a good like saying you were like triggered or whatever,
Okay.
like being like I wasn't even present here. I
Right.
lost it.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So I guess it is confusing because I'm going back and forth.
You are. I'm glad you're recognizing this.
I
Yeah, so
know.
it's so good.
But I think
Trying
there's
to figure
something
out what-
different if you're like with a friendship.
Okay.
and you're explaining yourself for a long time, I feel like sometimes that can be really off-putting. Where you're like, I know, you already told me why you judged me for reading romance. Why are you saying it again?
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
But then in
exactly.
a relationship, like with Phil and I feel like it's a little bit different where I'm saying like, hey, I was like really not even, you know what I mean?
I can see that. I really
Okay.
can. I really, yeah.
I hope
can,
I'm explaining myself.
Yeah, you are
Okay.
kind of. Yeah, I
Kind
get
of.
it. No,
He
no,
said
no,
kind
no,
of.
no. I get it. No, I know what you're saying. I think there are different levels of relationships that we have with people.
Yes.
And an apology is going to be different on those different levels.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
The through line through all of it is that I'm sorry I was wrong.
Yes.
But how we say it and the way in which we say it is going to be very different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
Okay.
Just kidding for this podcast.
I am the lead
This
pastor.
is really,
by the
wow.
way.
We're
Yes,
making a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm doubling that salary.
Netflix is our
okay,
sponsor.
good. Exactly.
Okay. Okay, and the last one I
Okay,
had.
what do you got?
The last one.
Okay.
How you take criticism
Oh, yes.
is a big portion.
Oh, my gosh.
of
We
your
could
EQ.
spend 2 hours on this.
I know we won't. I
Okay.
promise.
Yeah,
but-
okay. All right. No, this is a really, really big deal.
How do you think you take criticism? Like, what's your level of like, I do it really well, or
I think I do it averagely.
Okay.
If that's not a word I know, but I do it in an average way.
Do you think that
maybe.
you-
And hang
Okay,
on,
go ahead.
because I'm thinking here
Okay.
through this. Like we had a Google review a year or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
My sister, our digital director, she came into my office and said, "Hey, I don't know if you want to read this, but this came in."
yeah.
And of course I want to read it.
I've looked at some of our Google reviews
Right.
before. It's
And
very-
I read the review and I was mad.
yeah.
I got mad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say this about myself. You can ask my sister, ask my wife. I don't get mad that often. Like I think
Okay.
I'm a pretty even-keeled person. I don't get angry. I'm pretty calm most of the time.
Okay.
But some things just trigger me.
Mm-hmm.
And like some of those reviews, I'm like, I got upset.
Yeah.
I get all red in the face.
Mhm.
I'm upset. I'm already thinking in my mind how I'm going to respond and write to these people that they don't know what in the world they're talking about and how dare they say this about this in a public forum in a place that you haven't been to in 20 years and you're telling me how bad the church is? Are you kidding me?
He's very calm about it now, though. He's processed it. He feels calm.
Sorry. So,
So, hey,
Do
Jen,
I-
Jen, how often does he get mad?
No.
Not very often. All right. This is
see?
a true statement.
It's a
Fact
true,
check.
it's a true statement. But there are certain things that will set me off.
Yeah.
That is one of them. Like, I think misplaced criticism that's wrong.
Yeah. Your
That-
sense of justice
I think there's a
is there.
sense of justice
Yeah.
there because it's like, no, I'll own my stuff.
Yeah.
I'll own our church's stuff.
Yeah.
I know that we had a church that was very prideful. I know
Mm-hmm.
we had a church whose pastor ran away with the secretary and then repented. And I mean, I know that I've
Yeah.
made mistakes and I've said things about our pastors that I regret and I do that. I'm like, I'm
You
willing
have
to own.
apologized from the pulpit before.
I have. I'm
Yeah.
willing to own those things. But when somebody says something that they don't know what they're talking about, whew,
You want to take him down.
that'll set me off.
Yeah. He wants to
Sorry,
pull,
that's
he
bad.
wants to pull a Batman and really
so
just go
you
crazy.
asked my stuff. What about you?
Do I accept criticism well?
Yeah.
No.
You don't.
No. Nope. Mm-mm.
Okay, you're totally.
Well, as we
Hold
know,
it.
okay.
Will you take criticism when you ask for it?
I
Or
don't ask for it.
You don't even ask for it. Okay, so on your Bookstagram or a book that you might
Mm-hmm.
be thinking about doing or whatever, you're not going to ask people for their opinions.
No.
Wow. Okay. So Orah, I've got to throw this out there.
Yeah.
So how are you going to get better if you're never taking opinions from
Yeah.
other people?
I don't know if you've lived in this world, David, but people give it to you anyways. They love to give you their opinion.
They do. That's
yeah.
true.
Mhm. You don't even have to ask.
And
it just
yes,
happens all the time.
as a pastor, I am fully aware of this
Yep.
almost every Sunday.
Yep. So yeah, I don't need to ask. I think that some people, me specifically, I live in my head a lot.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't need more negative self-talk.
But what if they're going to give you positive, like, reinforcement?
I would love positive feedback. Just all the positive feedback. Give it to me. I'm here for it.
Okay.
I think generally people give negative feedback.
Yes, I
Generally.
think that's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think in person I'll handle it well. If you're telling it, you hopefully won't know that I am going to think about it for the next 48 years. Wow. You know?
You're living that much in your head.
Yes.
Wow.
But I think like if you give it to me, I'll be like, thank you so much for telling me that. I appreciate
Okay.
that. And then I will spiral. So
Wow. So I might walk away going, we had an incredible conversation.
Yes.
Orah was vulnerable.
Uh-huh.
I gave her some advice. And I'm going to think, man, I gave her some good stuff and I gave her some other feedback stuff that was maybe not so positive.
Yes.
And you're going to focus on that negative stuff
For sure.
and potentially spiral down.
Negativity bias. I'm going to really hold on to those.
So then, okay, so which you've said at the outset that that's one thing that keeps you from being emotionally intelligent.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes,
I mean,
correct.
this is what we're talking about
Yeah.
here. That because you can't handle criticism, it keeps you from being emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, it doesn't give me. I can't get too high of a score.
Wow.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like me.
Okay.
And that's why, like, some people don't want to read the comments on their social media. That's
true.
why people
It's true.
want to read the Google reviews.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you'll think about them for a long time. I think
Yeah.
I'm self-aware enough to know that I will, and
Okay.
so I'm just not going to.
Okay.
You know.
Interesting. No, that's really because I think I want to read the Google reviews because I want to take what I think are legitimate issues about the church or me personally and like try to fix those things.
Yeah.
I want to fix them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll sometimes ask for feedback from people.
Yeah.
And I know it's not going to be positive, but I want to hear it anyway.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe we're a little bit different. I don't know that I'll tend to spiral.
Yeah. You won't.
Rarely will I spiral.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do. I mean, I think everybody does at
Yeah.
some point, but I don't have that tendency.
Yeah. What about if it's about you, your person, not church, not Crosspoints,
Right,
but it's like,
understand.
and the pastor personally offended me.
Oh, and I've
When-
had that so many times.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't even know. So many times.
What a nightmare. I just know.
Nightmare. Welcome to my world, Orah.
I'm like, I'm out, guys. I'm out.
And listen, and I'm only a pastor of a church of 500 or 600 people. Imagine somebody that's a pastor
Oh
of 10,000
my
people or
gosh.
5,000. I legitimately honored those people.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I'm not trying to put all the blame on myself. I'm not a
Yeah.
narcissist. But I do say I do get that quite frequently.
You do.
Where it's like there's a personal you offended. How dare you say blah 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 whatever
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
And me, right from the get-go, if I offended somebody, immediate apology. I would just be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This has happened before. And I mean, it's not like I never offend people.
Right.
I apologize immediately.
Okay,
But
yep.
then I will go back home and think like, how many other people have I offended that they haven't even said anything? Oh my goodness, how many people am I going around offending?
Or then do you justify and I didn't really offend them. They're taking offense at something that they shouldn't have taken offense at in the first place.
Both.
Okay,
I
you
might
got
say
both. Okay.
I think they're being really sensitive. You know, I might be like, it just seems like I didn't
Yes.
do anything that crazy.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
But
Okay.
then you're like, but then how many people are really sensitive? And I'm actually offending 45% of people. You know.
Your brain goes there. I wonder if it's because I've been a pastor for so long that, again, I'm not saying it doesn't bother me, but it doesn't bother me as much as it used to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And this is one way in which we grow, I think, in emotional intelligence as well,
Mm-hmm.
is that the more feedback we get, the more that we're being able to the old phrase, you'll be able to eat the meat and spit out the bones. You'll be able to take the things that are probably really true that I need to change about myself or what I say and be able to say, okay, that's legitimate, but then this, no way. They're just making it
Yeah.
a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Molehill out of a mountain, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was right the first time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, I think I never would have known about myself that I was blunt. I wouldn't have been like, am I blunt? I wouldn't have even asked the question if I didn't have 70,000 people saying that about me to describe me, to be like,
In other words, you're getting a recurring theme
Right.
from your friends
yes,
all the
family,
time.
everybody have been like, well, yeah, but you're really blunt.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh,
Okay.
people say that about me a lot.
So then the question is, do you feel like you have to change that, or do you just embrace that's who I am? Not in a bad way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I don't think I've known you, man, I think I've
How
known
long
you
have you known
over
me?
10 years now. I don't feel like you're overly blunt. I think
Yeah.
you are blunt, but
Yeah.
that you're not caustic in your
Yeah.
bluntness. I don't think.
Yeah.
Now, maybe you are in different situations. I have no idea.
No,
but-
I think that I am very straightforward, but I
Okay.
do think that's a quality from God. To me, I
Yes.
feel like that's part of my personality that
Okay.
God gave me. So,
Okay.
but I do think that I've also spent a lot of time and energy to finesse that, to make it more
yes.
appealing to
Okay,
people,
that's good.
to hold back more,
I think
to be like they
wonderful.
don't like blunt. So I need to kind of how can I say this in the nicest?
Dial that down.
Yes, totally.
That's good. So you wouldn't say you're caustic at all, that you're not trying to stir the pot, so to speak, by your
sure hope
bluntness,
not.
right?
Yeah.
No. But
Yeah,
you're
I don't think
self-assessing,
so.
right?
I don't think
You're
so.
like, no, that's not your.
Yeah.
You're not trying to create more drama.
totally not.
That's what I'm saying,
yes.
right?
If
Yeah.
anything, my goal is to stamp down the drama. That's my
Let's
goal.
keep it lower, folks.
Totally.
Okay. Yeah,
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is something that if somebody has given feedback for you that's like something that you need to work on for your emotional intelligence level?
That like is legitimate.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
I need to work
That's your
on.
version of blunt.
Oh yeah. Okay. That they've been blunt to me.
Where you're like, wow, a lot of people say this about me. It must be true. I know. You can think about it.
Well, no. I'll say this. I think people want me to be more vulnerable than I am.
Yeah.
Like tell me more about what's going on inside of you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that I struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason now I'm trying to give a reason for why I don't want to. I'm not going to do that. Full stop. I think
Okay.
I think the vulnerability issue is a way in which I can grow for
Yes.
sure.
And that is only because people want to know you.
Right.
They want to
That's
feel
very
like
true.
they know you. And if you're not vulnerable, they feel like they don't.
Yep, that's right.
So that's why.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Mhm.
good. Trying to think of another area that somebody would say. I always feel like other people should say this about you.
Okay.
Like they know me maybe better than I know myself.
Okay. So
I know
you
that
feel
doesn't make sense, but you know what I'm saying? Like my weakness, probably somebody else is going to identify a
I
lot
see.
better than myself because
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty awesome in all these ways.
you get yourself an 8.
Right?
So
I give myself an 8. I mean, do you feel that about your own self? Like you're like, hey, I'm pretty. I'm not bad. I'm not like that
I'm not
person.
bad.
I mean, I'm a 7.
fine.
I'm a 7. I'm an 8. I mean, we have a pretty high view of ourselves,
I know.
right? Where somebody else might be like,
But my IQ level, I didn't rate high. So
same. I did that. Same. I don't know.
we're realistic.
I wonder if we should get our spouses on the podcast at some point and be able to say, okay,
yes.
this is
What is
this
your
is
emotional
this is what we've got
intelligence
some
level?
problems with. Yeah,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, and I do think I attract somebody opposite of Phil has the most empathy. He's so kind.
Yep.
You know, he's way more tactful in speech than I am.
100%.
You know?
Same with Heather. Heather has so many like strong, deep relationships. I'm continuing to be amazed at how she's intentional in her relationships with people.
Yeah.
Like I'm like in awe. Like just last week she's buying little gifts and she's sending little texts and all this stuff, and I'm just like, I don't think that way.
Totally. Yeah. You don't even know what you want for your birthday. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How am I going to help somebody else? But she's really, really good at that. Right.
Yeah.
And she's good at being vulnerable about kind of sharing like what's going on internally. And I
Yeah.
stand in awe at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the reality is when our emotional intelligence level rises, we are
Yes.
better witnesses.
Yes.
And
Ooh, now you're going back
we're just
to-
better Christians. We're
Yes.
better friends. We're better spouses.
That's right.
So it is something that we should try to like evolve in, and we should try to like improve on. You know?
Doesn't it bring us closer to like unchurched people when we can say that we don't really have all the answers?
Yeah.
And when we're vulnerable ourselves to say, man, I haven't arrived yet.
Yeah.
Right.
I do think that when you are talking to somebody, churched or unchurched, who is vulnerable to say where they are currently, that you start to be like, they're just a person. We're all people.
Yeah.
We all, like it just starts to be like, okay, they're not all of a sudden a hypocritical Christian. All of a sudden you know them to be like, oh, they're actually just a person who's Christian.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like that could be like a big positive
That's good.
of being truthful about yourself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Boy, Orah, lots of things to think about
I
here.
know.
I mean, like, wow.
I know. So think about it for yourself.
Okay.
Let's challenge our listeners / watchers.
Okay.
And do you have any challenges?
Well, I was just going to say, like, I think community is still a very huge factor.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it might sound like a broken record from the pulpit and from me, but it's like, man, like if you're not in some kind of small group, and I don't care if you're like it's serving or you're in a legit like kind of like connect group, but you need to be around other people in some kind of consistent fashion, because when you're in that environment, you're invariably going to disagree with somebody, and that's only going to make you better.
Yeah.
So get into some kind of small group where people are rubbing you the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Or the right way.
Yeah, and the right way. No, it doesn't always have to. You're right. It doesn't always have to be
It doesn't
negative
have to be
because it does because you do really find like really great relationships.
Totally.
And I would throw this out there: if you're finding yourself in a situation where you have a difficult time being in some kind of a connect group, small group, or serving kind of area, like man, you should begin to like assess like. Is there something with me that's keeping me from being in community?
Mm-hmm.
Because then there might be a shortcoming between the emotional intelligence that you have and where maybe you probably need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that means kind of stepping out of the boat, stepping into a place of vulnerability where it's like, okay, I know I need this. So therefore, I'm going to get uncomfortable and go somewhere. And you know what you're going to find is that you're going to find some deep, meaningful relationships. It's going to bring you, this is what Brene Brown has to say, that people that are wholehearted experience the most joy and the most connection.
Yeah.
When you're able to do that. So the very thing that you need is the thing that might make you uncomfortable, but it's also going to bring you the most joy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my challenge. What's
I
your
like that.
challenge? Okay.
My challenge. Great question.
Sorry,
Community is great. Community is great.
Okay.
And hold on, let me look up a challenge.
Yeah. She had some
Let's see.
challenges.
I know. I would challenge you this week to see how quickly you can apologize for something. You're going to do something this week.
I think that's good.
We all do.
That's good.
I mean, I do it every day. So we're going to do something this week at some point that you need to apologize for. So let's work on our apology game.
Yeah, and the apology is not laced with a whole full 3 or 4 paragraphs about why you're apologizing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think even if you could just learn to apologize quicker, if you're like, sometimes it takes me like a day to cool off. Sometimes it takes me 20 minutes to cool off.
Yeah.
Just try to work on, kind of nipping that in the bud
I think that's good.
faster.
It's a really great challenge.
thank you.
I think that's a really good, because I agree with you, Orah. Someone's going to do something this week.
Somebody's going to. We're both going to at some point.
We are. It's,
Yeah.
it's inevitable.
Totally.
So be quick.
Yeah, be quick to apologize.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
Woo, that was good.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness. We're
Man.
feeling emotionally intelligent. We're feeling great.
Love this. Okay.
And don't forget to email us your unpopular opinion.
Popular opinions.
And
I don't
where
know why I
can-
keep saying that.
I know.
It's just unpopular opinions.
Yes.
Okay.
Look up the jingle. It's going to get stuck in your head. I'm excited for you guys to hear it.
Okay.
And tell them where they can email us, David.
She's finally learned. It is at podcast@crosspointschurch.com. Again, that's podcast@crosspointschurch.com. Send us your comments. Hey, your feedback. It can be negative, positive. We will take. I won't let Orah read it.
I
but
don't read any, guys. I really
will
don't.
read all of the reviews, I promise. And then I'll let her know when she least expects it.
Yes, there we go. He'll give me all the positives only. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.